Car Chat on Zoom number 279. I'm your host, Craig Gabb. The gang's all here with Tony and Dale and Don and John and Chris and John and uh, Courtney and John and Mike and John and Jeremy and John and Jerry and John and Wayne and John. Anybody got any show and tell they want to show and tell? Got something, Mike? Go for it.
Yeah, I can show you what I'm doing. Give me a second here to get over there and switch things around.
My clicker is at the
I hate that. Okay. This is my pit lane. You can see what I'm doing here with the adapters for the pit lane and a double pit lane. If you look close, you can see the brass pieces I use to hold the adapters to the pit lane pieces, which I've discovered are essential.
Yeah.
You can see there I've got most of this one done. Almost all of it's done, but it's all wired in between, and then it has the pigtails for the power tap on there. So that's what I'm doing. And the other thing is, you guys recall, let me get back here. And switch it around. Okay. These cars, I discovered, remember we had the problem with the lane change issues with the chips.
Yeah.
Well, I discovered that there is a little tab on the let me pop this off real quick and I'll show you what I'm talking about. There's a little tab that fits into the oxygen chip that holds it in the correct position after, of course, changing the chassis, which I talked about last time, I believe. Okay. Let's see if I can. It's pretty hard to see, but at the bottom edge, just past the lower connection there is a little hole that fits into the chip that allows it to clip down correctly into this in the position to get the best lane change application. So for anybody that's using oxygen chips with these cars, it fixed the problem totally. And of course, I've changed the chassis. I've got new chassis so that's the hole for the infrared there, as opposed to this hole, which I cut up.
So is that clip part of the chassis, part of the new chassis, part of a separate thing, or?
No, it's part of the original chassis. I don't know if you can see it. No, it's really pretty invisible. I might have clipped it off on the old chassis even, but there's a hole in the chip itself, like a melt hole. Like the doors on the Scalextric chips have melted ends of it. Well, it's the same type of, just a single hole drilled through the chip. And if you get that in the correct position and put it in there, that's when it hits the proper position, is held in with the two clips like this on the side.
Yeah.
And it's in the correct position and it works great. So
okay, so early on you didn't notice the little plastic pin.
Correct.
And it wouldn't see, and you couldn't get the chip in there, so you did your own modifications.
Yes. Well, it isn't so much that I didn't do the chip. I sort of anticipated that there was going to be a problem because the infrared is quite high. If you look, it's all the way inside there, a good 3-4 millimeters at least.
But as
And
long as you have the chip installed and aligned to that little pin and clipped in, it works.
it works.
Good to know.
Yeah. And I had a race. Shiggy and I raced them on Monday, and they worked great. No problems with that. However, if you're wiggy wagging around, they won't.
Yeah.
They won't catch it, but that's normal.
That's normal, yeah.
I'm actually pretty impressed with these cars. I don't know if anybody else has seen Talking Utter Slot. The podcast came out with a podcast with Andy Rowland, who designed this polycar drivetrain like this.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know if everybody's familiar with that, but you can see that there's a double gear setup with the spur to lower the rear end so that you can get a better quality rear end, more like original cars. And it was an interesting. He was the designer of that style, and then presented it to Maurizio Ferrari, and Maurizio went, "Oh yeah, let's do that," which is kind of cool because he just designed it and 3D printed it and tried it, and it worked, and showed it to Maurizio, and Maurizio just took the ball and ran with it, and that's where all the classic cars have come from. And Andy Rowland is a Conti Rowland on Platform International, and he's very big into the Formula One cars, and especially making quite good scale models of all kinds of different years, but specifically in the late 60s to 80s cars. He designs and builds 3D printed chassis for them, and they're available commercially. Electric Dreams has some of them that fit some of the Formula One cars, which is really cool. Anyway, I'm really enjoying this stock out of the box with the oxygen chip. If you don't screw up like I did, you don't have any problems. Just put the chip in there, run it on the side with, I used tape on the side to hold the sensor. You could use something that's probably a little more aesthetically pleasing, but it works. And you've got an oxygen car. The tires are good enough on my Scalextric track that I don't have to change them. So for right now, the cars are about $70. $70 in the chip, and you're on your way with these. And you've got a 2024 current model years Formula One cars, which is kind of cool.
Have you had any trouble with the pinion slipping?
No, I had no trouble with that at all.
Because I heard with the flat six that was somewhat of an issue, but maybe that was just gossip, just.
The three of them that I've got have not had any problems with the slipping. If you notice, they all have the collar around the pinion. If you look close, right, you can see the metal on that. So I haven't had any problems with it at all. So we'll see. I did have to shim the motor. I think I told you about that last time. You use these. Let's see if I can grab it. These are the shims for the motor that fit behind it. All of the motors, all three of the cars that I have used only one shim in there, and they work fine. The gear mesh seems quite good. They're quite smooth. They're quite quiet, and they're really a lot of fun.
Those shims are included, so you can adjust the gear mesh?
Yes, there's two shims that are in the setup, and you can either take both of them out or put one of them in, or whatever you want to do, or both. If you put both of them in, it's too far away, and if you don't leave any in there, it's too close for the ones that I've gotten. So one shim seems to be the way to go. All three of them have been that. So,
what retailer had those shims?
The shims come with the car.
Right.
Well, see, I bought a conversion set, and they showed the shim, but they weren't available. And I used some washers. But I haven't even run my car yet. We haven't been doing much racing, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Well, we raced them on Monday, and it was just the two of us, but it's they're quite close together as far as the lap times go, and it's all down to the driving. So it's a nice solid setup, pretty simple. If you don't make the mistakes I did, it works well. So I was pretty chuffed. There's a little bit of playing around with the pods if you want to get a little bit more speed. But handling wise, I think I trued the front wheels and the rear wheels, of course, and that's about it. The only problem I can see is that you really can't use connectors and just plug it in. You're going to have to solder the chip in there. I cut the original wires off. You can see a little bit the red wires that are on there. You can see the two red ones, and you got to be very short with those. And I put on the front ones, I soldered some slightly thinner wire to it so it fits in underneath the body a little better. But overall, I'm really pleased with them. I like them a lot. So that's all I got.
All right, good stuff. Anybody else got any show and tell?
Quickly,
Go ahead.
what do I have here? Now I gotta go find my stuff. I have been asked to, I'm in the midst of building up a 124 scale Cox Ferrari 158, which will hopefully look somewhat like this. And I'll show you a picture. I started with the wheels, and the wheels on the Ferrari are different than the Cox wheels. They have a very pronounced bead on them with some bead detail, which is not what the Cox wheels looks like. They look like this, which has a pretty slabby bead on it. Then they don't, I mean, the Cox wheels are gorgeous. They're all cast magnesium wheels. They run true. It's just that they don't look quite as good. And this one's an old one. It's oxidized a bit. So I ended up putting mine in the lathe. And the original is in the center. So I put these in the lathe and then cut a bead onto it and have repainted them to look like the original. So that's all I've done on this so far, but it's not going to be a wildly modified car in terms of bodywork. It's going to be stock-ish. It's just that the wheels just drove me nuts and I just couldn't, I thought I could do a better job. So anyways, that's what that will be.
Looks good.
Now, Chris, you did the same thing with 132nd scale cheetah wheels too, didn't you?
I like wheels, so I've ended up milling out a lot of wheels to make them look a little bit better. So
Okay, I didn't know if you had the photos of that car handy, because I remember seeing it and it's absolutely lovely.
which one is that?
The Cox Cheetah that you did with
Oh yeah.
wheels.
They're around somewhere. Yeah, those were the same thing. I cut those and put a bead on them and cleaned them all up and stuff like that. So
All right, I got a quick little picture to share. Took Monday night. I just found it interesting how this is Chris's Electric Sport King inspired 4-lane type track, and I just happened to look down the straightaway that I was marshaling at the end of, and I'm like, wow, that's it hasn't even been that long, but that's a pretty defined groove there from the car sliding out. And I didn't even notice until last night I was looking at it how many marbles there are over on the side but you can see the groove sliding out. These are my 3D printed flat borders, so the cars don't have any trouble sliding over the curb part. So the car slides out, and then you can actually see over here the other lane slides out over here, and then the inside tire of this car comes in right there. I just thought it was a fun little thing to see. Anybody else got any show and tell?
I got one more quick pick. Sorry, Greg. This one is for Michael and anybody else who's building Polycar F1. This is to address the front end problem, Mike. I've done a ton of these now. And if you just take some small styrene tubing and just glue it in the space under here, you can run your lead wires through. It stops them going over and fouling the body, so you can get a little more consistent body movement and yada, yada, yada.
Those are the classic ones, correct?
Yep.
The ones that I've got have the Scalextric chip in, so that problem is different.
Okay.
If you look where I will cut the front part of that pod mounting ear off to allow enough room to get the chip in there. And if you know those, there's no room in there to speak of.
Yep.
But the chip will fit there upside down with the capacitor facing the bottom of the chassis,
Okay.
facing the ground.
Does the chip go right the way across, or is there a bit of space?
No, it's too wide to go across, so it has to go lengthwise, and it sits in that space where that mount is. And if you cut that front ear off, you can mount the Scalextric chip in there. You can't put a Polycar chip in there to save your soul. Unfortunately, I wish they would come out with something that was a little smaller. But you can, if you take the legs of the driver and a good portion of the front of their thighs out, you can get the chip in there and have digital cars, and it works really well.
Cool. These are another place I've used those red silicone washers, and those help out a lot too. So you might want to stick a couple of skinny ones in there.
Yeah. I use those generally on the inside of all of the cars that I've got, but there's not a lot of pod movement because they're so stuffed in there that it limits it somewhat. But the cars handle really well, even if they're slightly rigid like that. So
Yeah.
So it works well. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else got show and tell? If not, Club Corner.
Hey, I had a quick question. I was muted, Greg. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Chris, was that Chris?
Yeah.
Was that a Lotus 72?
I'm not sure. The Lotus 72, I've done 4 or 5 different models, and they're all basically the same.
That actually looked like, I think it looked like the Ferrari because it had gold
Probably
wheels.
was the Ferrari. Yeah, probably
Yeah,
was
and
the Ferrari.
outboard discs. Yeah.
I was just curious because the wires foul in that front suspension area, so that's a great tip. Thank you.
Yeah, I have done a Lotus 72. That one was thinking, back. I'm just looking at the picture now. Gold wheels. Yes, it was the Ferrari. But I've done the BRM and a bunch for guys at the shop, and all the classics work out the same way.
Good job. Thanks.
Alrighty. What you got, Dale?
I just wanted to follow up a little bit on the subject that Mike started of putting oxygen chips into places where they weren't originally meant to go. This is the pan for a Fly Porsche 908, and the space in front of the motor and between the front center mounting post is completely flat, and there's a lot of it. So that's the C1 type of chip resting in there, and it's held down with the little crossbar that Slot makes. It's held in place.
I see the screws
with these 2 screws here.
Yeah.
and it goes across the chip. And this this little white doodad here is screwed in place, and it holds the nose of the other end of the little clamp down, so it stays nice and solid. And
Nice.
the main not modification is to drill three holes for these chip holder and a little hole right in back of the guide for the light. And it's a very simple thing. I was amazed. I had 6 of these cars, and there's all a little bit of difference between the chassis for the 908 and the 908 slash, I think it's a 908 slash 2, and there's a 908 slash 3, and they're all a little bit different, but not difficult at all to accommodate in each one. So it's an easy fit.
Were those independent front wheels on that?
Yeah, yeah, that's part of the advantage of using that chassis, because there's just plenty of room.
Yeah. Good deal. Good tip. Thank you, sir. All right. Anybody else? Club corner? Floor is open.
All right, I have a question. Dale, that's a wood track behind you, right?
Yes.
We need to talk you into hosting a proxy race.
I'm sorry, say again?
We need to talk you into hosting a proxy race.
Oh, okay. I guess you weren't on the chat a couple of weeks ago. Let me bring up another photo of this so you can get a better look.
Oh, wow.
It's 189 feet long. It's only 2 lanes, but it's all digital, of
Oh,
course.
it's digital.
Huh?
Okay.
Can you do analog
Yeah.
on your track, Dale?
Yeah, I can use. It'll run analog also.
Okay. So yeah, that'd
Some
be
of
great.
That's cool.
Some of those squeezes would make an interesting proxy race.
I'll bet. Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah, a couple trial runs would be fun.
according to the people that slot it, the oxygen system can accommodate up to 20 cars on one track racing. But I just cannot imagine how that would work on this track. It's a pretty good, challenging bit of drive.
Yeah, with that much squeeze, that would be it would be difficult to get 20 guys to to properly zipper into the squeezes.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know where all the marshals would go either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have to
But
be
if for 20
like
guys are driving, we
through.
probably need 20 marshals also.
It would be track calls for sure. Everybody's around the track
Yeah,
calls for crash.
50
exactly.
million track calls all at once.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially at the start. Bam.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful track. If I'm ever in the area, I'm gonna knock on your door for sure.
Good, good. Looking forward to it.
Can't wait.
All right, Jim, what you got?
Well, we had a race this last weekend. Let me find, is that, there we go. One of our 2-day races at Motown. It's the Corvette Competition, which was open for NSR Corvettes of any flavor, C6, 7, or 8. 98% of them were C8s. There was a couple C7s. I don't remember seeing a C6, but it was your choice. We had 23 entries, and this was also sponsored by Professor Motors, so definitely want to thank them for helping out with the prizes, which you'll see in a second. Here's the cars. We decided to line up all the cars, not just the ones that were raced, all the cars that were in the pit area that were basically purchased for this race. So to give an idea to Professor Motor what their sponsorship is giving them. So we had a great turnout. You know, we would have liked to have a few more people, but we had a great turnout of people. Here are the racers. We have one new racer. Chris may know this gentleman, Tracy Chin. I did Dennis will. He's a longtime ISRA racer, world's finalist a couple times in 24 scale. So he came out for the first time to this track. liked what he saw, so I built him a car out of the box. Put some good tires on it because we didn't have time to true tires and mount them and true them for him. And the car was fairly competitive right out of the box. So I think he had a good time. It was a 2-day race with qualifying on Saturday and an IROC on Saturday and the race on Sunday. The awards were obviously from the track, Motown, as well as Professor Motors. So all the A-Main finalists got a car. The trick with the A-Main was you wanted to get this car because it was a custom C8. There's another C8. There was one C7. So everybody was joking before, I don't want to finish third. I want to finish first, second, fourth, fifth, or sixth, because that way I get a C8. So lots of awards. These are the semifinalists, the top 12, going into or fighting it out to get into the A-Main. And so we had a great race. This is a car that I planned on running, but I put that up to show what every participant got. We had name tags, and everyone attending the event got a participation plaque. So that was great. I ended up running a different car, my other car, which you'll see in a second. And that's the car on the inside. That's the way I ran it. That's the way it came off the track. It was spec wheels and tires. You were required to run the 5018 wheel, and it's an NSR Super Grip Motown spec. It's molded in gray, so it was not an off-the-shelf tire, but it was a gray Super Grip, so it's easy to tech. Ran them about 18.3 millimeters, and that's the basic setup. I put that on Facebook and said that car's got to weigh a ton. And this car is actually pretty light. That's all golf club lead, which is about a 0.5 gram per linear inch at a 0.5 inch wide. So I think there's about 5 or 6 inches of lead in that, which comes out to about 3 grams. So it's not that heavy. So the car worked really well. The only, you were allowed to change the guide. Gears were required to be stock. You could change the front wheels to the 16 millimeter size. And the lead ballast was open, but it had to be behind the front axle and in front of the motor, or roughly in front of the motor. That was okay. But you couldn't be back here, couldn't be back here, couldn't be in the front, and couldn't be on the underside. So that was a kind of a different rule for Motown. Open ballast with a couple limitations.
What was the reasoning for not allowing lead towards the front?
I can't give you a real reason for it. That was just the decision made.
That just seems
originally
out of nowhere.
Originally, we were going to require the Professor Motor tungsten pucks only in the magnet area where the pucks replace the magnet.
Mhm.
That was the original rule, that you could run 2 pucks. Well, you can only put 2 pucks in here because this one overlaps. So you could run 2 lead pucks or tungsten pucks. You could run a tall one and a small one, or 2 tall ones or 2 small ones. That was the original rule, but he decided to change it to open because a lot of people had already built cars, because these cars fit in our GT3 class. A lot of people already had cars that fit the open ballast rule. But for whatever reason, he decided to keep it within that confine of the motor and the front axle. So I can't give you a good reason, but that was the reason. We do run the combi axle tubes from Solid Plus. They make a relatively, I wouldn't say major, but they do make a difference in the way the cars handle. And so that was allowed, but it was pretty much stock other than wheels and tires. Gears were stock. Motor was stock motor that comes in it. We run these as angle winders only regularly, as does Electric Dreams, and we've just continued that. That's why it's angle winder only.
How many guys ran the axle tubes, Jim?
Everybody that was competitive.
Yeah.
pretty much everybody, because the fast guys run it. The fast guys know that it helps, so everybody runs it. I don't remember seeing a car that didn't have one. They snap in. I glue them in, but they snap in.
Yep.
So I put a dab of 6,000 underneath. Before I snap it in, I put a dab of 6,000 underneath on the pod, snap it in, and put a little bit over the top. So they work great. You can make your own. They're easy to make out of aluminum too. In fact, when we were running GT3, that we could run the offset bushings. I ran the offset bushings and made my own tube to go in between it. So that, I don't know if that's worth it for Slotting Plus to try to build an offset combi tube or not, but but they can be easily made. But for $7, it's a lot nicer than the homemade ones, and they just snap in.
Yeah.
Just make sure if you want to buy one, if you're people that are watching out there, these come in different sizes for different cars, so make sure you get the right size.
Was there an entry? Was there an entry fee for the bid? How
There
much
was,
was it?
yeah. I can't tell you what it was, but there was one. I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
There was an entry fee, and you got one set of tires with your entry. I think it was 25, but I'm not positive if I'm right or not. But you did get one set of tires with your entry, and obviously you could buy extra sets of tires. So you didn't have to buy anything extra to run the race other than the entry fee and then the parts that were your choice to buy. I had a good race. I ran the orange car, which is not the car you saw originally, but that's the car that I just showed you the picture of the chassis. We were required to run inserts on all 4 wheels, so that has that on it. I finished first in the non-teenage class, which was second overall. So Braden won the race. He drove a great race. I think he only had a couple offs in a half an hour, and he was a tenth and a half faster than most of us. So Herman James had a really fast car, but it wasn't fast in the main. So I started, well, I'll explain that in a second. I ended up finishing second. I started about 6th after the first 5 laps, had a crash, but drove it back up and pretty much had the second fastest car on the track after Herman's car just didn't quite work because he had the fastest car in the semis. And I honestly thought he was probably going to win the race based on his semi performance, but the car just didn't work as well in that one, in the A main. We did have an IROC. We had some issues with these tires coming off, gears breaking. I'm not sure if anybody's run these new Evo gears on the NSR, but we found that there's something going on. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to badmouth them, but it could be preparer or whoever prepared the cars didn't oil the channels properly. So I don't know, but we did have a couple break gears. Lastly, I put this video up Monday, and I mentioned that I started out 6th after the first 4 laps. I've never seen this happen in my life in slot car racing. My friend Larry, we were out front because Braden actually had one crash on the first lap, so he was actually in last for a while. But on the 4th lap, we came around to the right-hander. We were 2 lanes apart. He was on the inside, I was on the outside. He came off, hit me from 2 lanes across. The ricochet pushed him back into his lane, and he kept going. I got collected by another car, so I had to get marshaled after the other car. But I've never seen somebody come from 2 lanes across, hit somebody else. That somebody else being me comes off, pushes him back into his original lane, and he keeps going.
It takes a lot of practice. Takes a lot of practice, Jim.
And Larry gets a lot of practice at that. I've known Larry for close to 40 years, so I can pick on him. But yeah, but like I said, and I was dumbfounded, quite honestly. If it was one thing, I saw him come out and he hit me. He didn't do it on purpose. He didn't take me out because he came out from 2 lanes away. He just came out, collected me, and I'm dumbfounded, kind of. And if you saw the video, my hands are down to my side, and I'm pissed, quite frankly. But then when I saw his car keep going, I was even more pissed. So it was just one of those things. I've never seen anything like it, but it was kind of crazy. But all in all, we had an awesome race. We're going to be doing that again in December, not with Corvettes. We're going to have the Mosler competition. It's going to be Sidewinder now, or they're not technically Sidewinder, but you know what I mean. Sidewinder Moslers with the 25K motors, and that's going to be a 2-day race in December. So we're hoping to see a lot of people come up for that. We're definitely going to push this race out to the Southern California people and try to get some more entries from. We like to have more people to beat. When the Southern California people come up, there's just more people to beat. That's a challenge, Southern California people. And Dewan, you're not Southern California, but you count too.
I'm a transplant. Yeah. That kind of reminds me of in the aerospace industry, you had a test pilot who survived 2 air-to-air collisions. So the odds of things like that with their getting put back in that slot from 2 lanes over is just amazing.
Yeah. He couldn't have come from 2 lanes over, hit me, and get back in the slot next to him, which would have made him a rider. he had to go back in the original slot that he was in. So that was the craziest part.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does
when
it
I
capture?
watched your video, I was like, that looks like a rider. I was expecting it to get caught as a rider, and then nope, that's his lane.
Well, if you saw the video, Larry comes back into his slot and his car sits there because he didn't realize he was back in his slot, and then finally he takes off.
Yeah.
And so it was one of the wildest things I've ever seen. Well, it wasn't crazy at the time, but looking back on it, it was crazy.
For sure.
Will they allow you to use the tubes in the Sidewinder? Or fake Sidewinder?
I don't know if they're going to fit. Will they fit
Well,
in
you
that?
I'll keep, yes, they will. I'll dig up a picture and come back to you in a second when I find a picture.
Okay, I've made some custom ones for Sidewinders. So I'm not sure if Slotting Plus makes one for a Sidewinder.
They don't, but don't worry about it. I'll find it.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to look at the rules and see if it's going to allow it. But yeah, I have made custom ones just out of aluminum and cutting the channel out so the motor can fit.
You can do it way easier, Jim, when I find this.
Yeah, perfect. Because when I see that, I'll take a screenshot and show it to them and see if they want to allow that or not. It's not quite as bad with the Sidewinders because those motors have a lot less torque. But it still helps. Yeah, for sure.
It still stops the flexing of the upright, so it still helps from a handling perspective, Jim.
We've got these angle winders because they're a bear to drive because that car has so much torque. Between gluing the motor in and doing that and getting the gear, I got to do a video on gear mesh because half the people's gears were not meshing properly. And it's not a hard thing to do, but you've got to do it right, especially on an angle winder because we're playing with so much torque putting it through that pod that any little thing helps getting the car to balance properly and put power down smoothly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good video.
That's it for me.
All right. Well, while Chris is looking for his pictures for that, let me do a little quick share. This is Club Corner, but not my club. Steve Hills posted on Slot Forum and probably other forums about True Speed Raceway and the club that they're starting. This is a plan view of their wood track, which looks phenomenal. But they also have rally tracks and other things. So he posted one picture, I think the other end of this track on the Slot Forum post. But if you go to their Facebook group or Facebook page, you can see lots of other pictures. That's another one of their rally tracks. Got a bunch of rally pictures and videos in here. It's another one, and another one, and another one, and then some more of the big track.
Those are 5-lane tracks?
I think it was, yeah.
5-laner. Okay.
Yep, 5 lanes.
Oh.
Sorry, where's that at?
It's in England somewhere, because I know Steve Hills is, Shropshire. Shropshire.
Yeah.
A place called Whitchurch. Yeah.
That narrows it down.
Shropshire. Right, Wayne?
Yeah.
But
I'm just popping it into Google Maps to find out how far away it is. It's 30 miles from me.
6?
30.
30. Oh, that's nothing for us, but for you guys,
30-minute drive for you.
That's way too far away for people in.
I could reasonably go there for a club night. I've never been. They've only recently gotten that permanent venue, that building that they're in. Most of those rally tracks were temporary, and they would set them up. I think it was a village hall or something like that. But they've required that building in recent months, and then they've now filled it out, and that's facilitated that new wood track.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it was a brand new club, but I think the wood track is on the new side. Yeah, that looks like a great track. Good combination of fast and flowing, long, straight, technical. Love it. All right, you ready, Chris?
Yep, found my picture.
Alrighty.
There you go, Jim.
Yeah, carve out the middle section.
Yep. I've done that on a bunch of them.
That's the combi. You just cut out the middle section.
Yeah, all you have to do, you got to be careful. You don't want to obviously go too much into the flanges here. But if you just take a Dremel and just slice this out and clean it up a bit, there's plenty of room in there.
Yeah, looks good.
Yep. Saves you, making a tube and cutting it and aligning it and putting the bushings in and all the rest of the crap. If you do make your own, if you use a piece of brass tube and use the MR 2001 reduced diameter bore bushings, they'll slip into the tube really nicely, and then you can put a little washer on either end to secure it and glue it in. It works great.
But you still have to cut away some of the tube, right?
Yes. Well, not as much because you're using a much smaller tube. You are using a smaller tube, but yes, you still have. If you have a bunch of Slotting Plus combi axle bushing tubes, that's by far the easiest way.
All right, what you showing, Mike? Oh wait, no, that's not Mike. Raise his hand. Oh, you're showing that stuff, Chris?
I'm not showing anything, am I?
Somebody was showing a picture of a bunch of chassis. That was probably you by accident.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. All right, Mike, what you got? That was accidental, apparently. You're muted, by the way, so if you're talking at us, you need to hit your unmute button.
Sorry. Shiggy and I raced on Monday, and we raced the Formula One cars, as I was talking about, with oxygen, with no problems whatsoever with any of the RMS or anything like that. The only problem was batteries in the controller for the Ghost car on the first race. And on the second race, somehow I put new batteries in, but I couldn't get it to pair with the Ghost car. So, Shiggy was getting under the weather with his knee, so we decided, oh, to hell with the Ghost cars. So it's a couple of boring videos, and I did manage to get the live stream of it. So it unfortunately it's not all that interesting. But in the second race, we raced GT3 cars in oxygen, and I took the slowest car, which was the Bentley. Played with it a little bit and brought it right up there. So Shiggy and I were even Steven. And I won both races strictly by staying in the slot. Both of my cars were a little bit slower. In fact, in the one he makes a remark, he says, "Oh, I'm going to take the option of falling out on the first lap." And once he did that, he never got close. But it was interesting because he tried a different fueling strategy, which almost worked. He kept it close enough, but his coming out in the end really nailed him on that. So what he did is he would come around and come out just ahead of me with as much fuel as he could get in just before I got there. So it's really hard to pass with cars that are fairly even. So my thing was that, okay, as long as I got 2 laps on him, I'm all set. I don't have to worry about it. I can just come in my regular pit stops, do my thing, and let it go, and then just follow him around. It was pretty funny, actually, because he would duck into the pit and I would take the next couple laps. And by the end of the race, I had over 5.5 laps on him because I could just do it that way. But his scheme of doing the light fuel loads and going faster could have worked. He would gain a little bit now and then by doing that. And of course, frustrated me a little bit, but I didn't let it bug me. I didn't, get the red mist and go out and try and pass him real hard. So I just sit on his bumper. And towards the end, it was funny because he was going slowly and trying to make me hit him and fall off. And so So it was kind of, I don't know if anybody else heard of the Le Mans race that Dan Gurney was using the Mark IV 4GT. I think it was in '67, and I believe one of the Ferrari drivers, Scarfiati, refused to pass him, and Gurney wanted him to pass him, and he wouldn't do it, and they actually ended up pulling off the track and sitting, waiting for the other one to go first. It's hilarious, but it was similar to that in that he was kind of waiting for me to pull out and pass so he could knock me off and gain the 5-second advantage by doing that. And it didn't work because I didn't fall for it. So it was an interesting strategic race for that reason. That's one thing you don't get in analog very much. This kind of stuff is different completely. So it was great fun. We enjoyed ourselves and had a good time. So anyway, that's it for me.
That's what it's about.
Yep.
All right, Dale, what you got?
Yeah, I got a question for Mike and anybody else that has some know-how on the oxygen system. And it's the subject of unintended lane changes with the oxygen lane changer. I have 12 lane changers, and I have one of them that the car will change lanes. The lane changer will be triggered, but not by me. And get this, it'll also happen with an analog car. And that's not a good thing to happen if the analog car goes into the next guy's lane and it just stops. So, in talking to Mauricio about it, he says it's the result of the ceiling lighting triggering the sensor in the lane changer. And I have a little bit of a problem believing that, because I've had many cases, where the lane changer is triggered and the damn car is still 6-7 feet away. So there's something triggering it other than lights shining from the
Put a
ceiling.
cardboard box over the sensor and race with a cardboard box over it.
Well, I tried that. I put a piece, what Mauricio told me is, he said, put a bridge over it. So I just laid a piece of cardboard over that. And, it was a good sized piece of cardboard. It was probably 10 or 12 inches of running length across the lane changer sensor. And it was only 4 inches above the track. And I still got unwanted lane change triggering. So it's not from light coming straight down from the ceiling. It's some other ambient light sneaking in from the sides.
Go
ahead.
ahead. All right, you're sure that it's not wiggling the car ahead of time and leaving it open from the last time you changed lanes?
I know what you're saying. Yeah, no, it's not that. It always closes. The lane, the flipper always closes.
Okay.
Are your lanes powered by a different power source? Or are they on the same?
No, the power to the lane change solenoid comes directly off of the it's teed into the same power line that goes to the braid.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a power issue probably, because that only operates a solenoid.
I've seen a circuit that was live with no cars on it with lane changers flipping. You really ought to try just powering up your circuit and leave it. And well, say you can't leave it, but observe it. See if it happens with nothing running. Because I've seen that.
Well, I can make it trigger by just taking a light bulb and waving it over the track where the sensor is, and it'll click it.
So what about reflective lights from somewhere in the room hitting it at just the right angle? If you don't think it's the lights from above, I don't know, I don't know if there's any filter you could use, or also see if it happens with the, if you run it with lights out. For instance, if you would race the cars with lights on, with quite a trick in your track, to be sure. But see it, maybe some small ambient lighting somewhere on there you can still see decently.
Yeah.
See if it triggers at that point, and that
Well,
would.
I have two circuits of lights in the room. You know, the whole track is the room length that the track occupies is about 36 feet. And I have one bank of light bulbs that's, well, they're half and half. So I can turn off the light circuit on the side of the track, the end of the track where the bad sensor is. And I still get.
Is it only one?
I think there's been another one from time to time, but lately it's just one. It's the one that's it's just before the turnoff into the pit lane. So it's in a really bad spot.
Go on Amazon and buy some window film that's UV blocking. Cut a little square out and put it over your sensor on the track and see if it's enough to still trigger, but enough to filter out everything from above.
Okay, because the bulb on the car, that's IR, right?
Yeah. It should be infrared, yeah.
So it'll go through the UV blocking.
I don't know. I'm just giving you ideas. I'll say it for $6
that's a good idea. Yeah, I like that.
So let's go back to concept. As far as we know, Maurizio is right. And that's because it doesn't have to be light from directly overhead, okay? Fluorescent tube lights, LED lights flicker. That's how they work. They flicker. You just can't see it with your human eye. You can see it when you take video, you know, the lighting will be weird and your video will flicker and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The only way to, and even if you cover up something, right, there's still light coming in. It's just not as bright. So it's still getting flickering light to the sensor. It's just not as strong as when there's nothing over it, right?
Yeah.
So the only way to confirm undeniably that it's not your lighting system is to turn off all of your lights, right? Make sure that the only source of light is incandescent, right? Don't use an LED flashlight. Don't use a fluorescent floor lamp over there or whatever. It's got to be no light or incandescent only. And then, you know, either just sit there and wait or, you know, drive our car around that maybe has lights in it and see if it happens, right? And if you have windows, you know, that sunlight in, generally sunlight doesn't flicker, but there is infrared in there. So if you've got light, and if you're doing this during the day, cover up the window too. So that pretty much the only light that the lane changer will possibly receive is the infrared light coming from the lane changer, the chip in the car.
Yeah. Okay.
Unfortunately, the only solution is, you know, other than replacing your entire lighting system with a energy sucking incandescent system that you'd have to like buy from a antique store. The only solution is to like replace that electronics, because if for whatever reason that piece of electronics is out of spec enough that it's letting, you know, these out of spec signals trigger the solenoid, then replacing the electronic is pretty much the only long-term solution that we know of.
Okay. Not being an expert on digital by any stretch of the imagination, but with 12 lane changers and only one acting up, it seems weird to me that it would be a light situation as opposed to a specific sensor issue.
Yeah, but it's the fact that that specific sensor is out of spec or has degraded for some reason or whatever.
Yeah,
but the trigger is still the light.
True, but I suspect it's a sensor issue as opposed to changing all your light bulbs issue.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why he was saying, that's why Mike asked if it was just one sensor or if it was all of them. If it was just one lane changer, it was all. So it's just one lane changer, but you suspect that another one is heading down that road of being triggered randomly. So if it was happening randomly to all of them, it would probably happen to all of them more or less at the same time because the light is, you know, hitting all of them pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the only solution that I'm aware of, other
Okay.
than is just replacing them.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's that kind of thing has happened with pretty much any lane changer system that uses infrared signals to trigger. So
Oh.
Scalextric, Carrera, Oxygen, obviously. Um, yeah, that's it. The rest use some other mechanism to trigger the lane changers. But it's
Okay.
happened for years and years, randomly. It's really annoying.
Yeah.
And the solution basically is to replace the lane changer.
Okay. Hmm. All right. Thanks, guys, for the help.
Yeah. Not good news, but
I'll handle it.
Yeah.
I have some. Try that UV film. That might.
Can you lower the sensor also if it's up close to the track? Can you pull it down a little?
Yeah, I could do
I would
that.
pull it down a few millimeters. That way, less light is hitting, where it's trying to go. I mean,
Yeah. Well, one thing I need to change that might be significant is that there's a couple of sensors that when I installed them, those things aren't easy to install to get located perfectly. And then if you install it a little bit off, and if you drill the hole for the light sensor a little bit off, you don't get light through the hole into the sensor. So there's a couple where I had to enlarge the hole in the track just so the sensor was in line with the light bulb on the chip, the car chip. So there may be that
do
I got to look closely. That
do
hole
you have
may
a
be
3D
larger than
printer?
it really needs to be. So there is a lot of sideways path for ambient light to sneak in there.
I was gonna say if you had a 3D printer, you could just print a little shell to stick down in there that would let less light in, maybe. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
you
could
could
do.
probably do it with like a piece of plastic and something to sleeve it.
Yeah, just a piece of tubing to sleeve it. Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, I
At
just
the
wanted to
same
make
time, you don't
sure
want to
that just wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing something really big on this problem. So apparently I'm not, and it's just maybe a detail that I'll have to pay attention to.
and regarding moving the sensor further away from the track to shield it from lighting is that you're also shielding it from the car infrared, right? So when you restrict the amount of time the LED is shining onto the sensor, you're also reducing the reliability, depending on how fast the car is moving, it may or may not trigger the sensor if it's only got a
Yeah,
very so
yeah,
that's why that when Mike was showing it on that F1 car, it had a slot, right? So that the LED was actually able to kind of shine through at like a fan, right? So it's
right,
getting signal, right?
right.
So, I mean, it's all those ideas are absolutely worth trying. I have
Yeah,
never even thought of or heard of the UV filtering, stuff. If that works, boy howdy, there's going to be a whole lot of happy people out there if that
yeah,
fixes it. Yeah.
yeah.
Alrighty. Anything else anybody got? Yeah.
I have
I
one thing. Oh, go ahead. Duane, you go.
well, I had planned on attending our Far Out Club team race this past weekend and had to cancel out the last minute. But it still was kind of from afar, a bit entertaining. Let's see here. It was the first 1/24th scale, 8-lane, because we got to use the nylon track at Electric Dreams, race that Far Out Club had. So this is what they kind of had as a token of appreciation for us attending. So that is showing up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So they had it set up for that, and unfortunately, I didn't get to officially get mine, but they already had it made up. They also did have the results here. I'll just go ahead and just on behalf of the club, just post the results. It was 32, well, I think it was 32 races. At one time they had 32 people listed, and I know I dropped out, and I think somebody else picked up that spot, but which is a pretty good turnout, especially for a team race, and had four teams, four members per um, 8 lanes. Make it work out. It was a 3-hour enduro. Or you put 45 minutes in each of the 8 lanes, so it's more than 3 hours now. So whatever that, maybe it is 3 hours. It is 3 hours, isn't it? Okay, yeah, it is 3 hours. But it was a nice little long day for those, and you can see the results here. Looks like Eddie Shore's team ended up winning with 1,292.5 laps. And there's results. But anyway, just doing a absentee results of the club. Great. That's it. Where's my stop share button? It disappeared. How did my whole screen disappear for a stop share?
I got you.
There you go. Thank you.
And I believe Electric Dream broadcast a bunch of that as well, if not the whole thing.
Yes, it was broadcast live streamed, and the results are also posted on the Far Out website, Far Out Club's website. I don't know if it's it may be on their Facebook page too.
Yeah.
And what cars were you running to what?
There were 124 BRM with Scale Auto foam tires.
Okay.
At least that was my understanding.
I think it was Group 2, like the minis and the.
Oh,
and
yes.
Good stuff.
Really sad I missed it.
Anybody coming up for the 24 Hours of Tacoma? First weekend of November. Allen's, yeah. Yeah, they're going to run the new BRM Group C cars. The original BRM Group C cars were giant Scalextric cars, basically. The new ones are going to have the metal chassis like the BRM Trans Am cars and other BRM cars, 124th cars. So I'm not going to be in the 24-hour. Was that one of the new BRM chassis, Mike?
I don't know. This is quite old, actually.
Oh, that's Scalauto.
Scalauto.
That's a Scalauto chassis.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the new ones are going to be more the simpler ones, like the Trans Am and the Revo slot chassis are basically that kind of two-piece thing. Anyway, I'm not doing the 24 hours because I know that's just not me. I will be doing the sprint races like I do the last couple of years. But this year the entry fee basically covers all the hardware that you're getting as a team. He's given out 2 complete BRM Group C car kits. And I believe they're going to be white kits. So he's sending out the bodies ahead of time so that teams can do their paint jobs. And the idea is that you're going to build one car for driving in the daytime and another car where you have to install lights that you will drive during the nighttime hours. 6 hours of the 24 is going to be pitch dark other than the lights from the cars and ambient light from the break room. So that's an interesting change from previous events where you had to put lights in the car, your one car. So I'm not sure why he's doing that, but
it's different.
Basically, for the $300 entry fee, you're getting two $150 cars. Handout tires like he normally does, and they're going to run both the wood tracks, so 14 lanes and 40 or some odd minutes per lane twice through or something like that. 5 or 6 man teams. You got to have a marshal and a driver and somebody resting at the very least. But that should be fun. Like I said, I'll do the sprint races, which are like the Friday for 1 or 2 of them, and then or no, Thursday for one, and then Friday for the other two, and then Saturday is when they actually start the 24. Like Saturday around noon, they start the 24 and go to Sunday around noon. So yeah, if anybody's coming up, that'd be cool. Love to see you. Shake your hand, give you a hug, all that jazz. Otherwise, all right. Like I keep saying, the floor is open.
I've got one thing that I found interesting. My wife was cooking with the oven, so I couldn't use it to do the chassis flattening technique. And so I ran it through some scenarios through AI, and I figured out the process to do it on a 3D printer because the 3D printer bed is magnetic. So I put it down on the flatbed, put the jewel case over the top of the car, and then at 90 degrees, I ran it for 2 hours and then turned it off and let it cool down. I got a perfectly flat chassis, and it fixed. I had a problem where the front axle went through the two sides, but once I put it through the second side, it must have been a little off because it would barely turn, and it pulled it back to where it was because I left the axle in it and tightened it down where I wanted it. And then the ABS or whatever they're annealed, I guess it's called, right, where it gets like the form it's going to take and cools down, and everything came out perfect. So if you have 3D printer, that's an extra bonus feature. Now you also have a way to flatten chassis when the wife's got the oven.
As long as your bed goes up to 90, right?
Well, yeah, mine goes up to 100. I think most of them these days, the newer ones go to 100 Celsius.
Most of them, I don't know. Yeah, Celsius.
Yeah. Don't go over 205 Celsius.
No, God, no. Did you have to write a special G code to keep it on for that long?
No, mine has preheat, and it just as long as you want to go, it was fine. So
yeah,
your mileage may vary.
Yeah, mine will say you've been heating too long with no activity, so I'm turning off.
No.
Anti-fire hazard, I guess. So some printers will do that, but if G code is pretty simple, it would not be a hard thing to do to write a simple G code file that basically says warm up the heat bed to this amount, wait 2 hours, then allow it to cool down. As long as it's running code, the printer's happy with it.
Well, the only reason I thought of that is because I know the NSR has theirs they sell. I don't know how hot that one gets though. I mean, the aluminum NSR one gets really hot, but the regular one doesn't.
Yeah, it makes sense perfectly. Yeah.
The Revo slot NSR one gets super hot. Don't use that one.
I still have two of those available. If anybody wants them, I still have two left.
I think you can buy those in Canada. They don't allow that in. Too hot.
I thought that was coming out next April 1st.
I got to think of something else for next April 1st.
Okay. All right, Jeremy, I'm loving it. I'm loving that car on your bench, Jeremy.
That one. I got my first far out car from a far out person. I'm gonna test it out as is, see how far behind or ahead of us they are.
Let me guess, it's Frank.
I don't know. I got it from Dewan. Dewan, where'd it come from?
Actually, it was it wasn't Frank. It was Tom. Oh, Tim Feeder. Tim Feeder sold it to me.
I didn't know you could do all that much for far out cars.
Well, the flies are probably the most creative or the most liberal that they've opened up to. We have lead weights in there, and you can do things to the front axle and things like that to kind of just the flies. And then they got so bad they just got a complete change out kit now from Slotted that we switched over to.
Yeah.
Well, we just like the bodies, we just love the flies. So it's just nice cars.
They are nice looking cars.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the most out of the box breed of cars that we race. Okay. Yeah, let me know how that turns out. I'd like to know how our club configuration matches up to what you guys have, and increase performance.
I'll let you know. I'll give you an update.
Cool. Ooh.
I need to start putting people on the hot seat. All right, hot seat time. What you doing, Courtney? What kind of cars you working on? What kind of motor pod you working on? What kind of chassis you working on?
Let's see here. Well, is actually right now I'm working on my sideways Fantasy 2. Is this a 298?
296.
296. So I'm working on that. I've got the chassis flat. I've got a Yona pod, the S-Can pod. It's got ball bearings, titanium axle. I've trimmed the one motor shaft. I'm going to break in the motor in Ralph Thorne oil or break-in solution. I was just working on the guide flag. This is that flag that the Dark Lord Garth had made for me. And as you know, I want the front end down, so this you can see how thin that is. So I was just working on that, trying to get it to fit in there correctly. And I was doing something else, but yeah, that's what I'm working on. And I really want some more. I can't find any. I want some more of the play fit 10 tooth plastic pinions. I've got one left. I'm afraid to use it, so I've been looking through my stash of pinions. I'm probably going with the MR slot car steel pinion 6.5, and then go with the plastic scale auto gear, probably a 34. I'm probably going to end up with a 1034. And then, of course, they're changing the tire rule for GT3. I'm going through my stash of pre-Evo tires. So I've got a classic, but it's 21 millimeters tall. It's just a tick over 11 wide, but it is oh so soft. So I'm gonna have to true this down for a long time. And then if Garth is here, so Garth has made me I don't know, he's got some sort of superpower over me, like the Dark Lord. So this is the Fantasy one. What is that? The four something?
Is it a Ferrari?
Yeah, that's the sideways Ferrari. So anyhow, I took the Guard tube pod, and I believe these tires are correct. They're under 11 mil. They're just a tick over 19 mil tall. And this car is really, really good on my track. So I wanted to do a back-to-back test. This is the scale auto pod I took out of it. Again, I like the 3-point pods, ball bearings. So that's what I took out of. So I put the same motor, same tires. I used, this has got the, Garth likes the 2 silicone washers. So this is the stock setup like he wanted to try. And after a little bit of tweaking, to be fair, I had to tighten them down pretty good because it had a fair amount of hop, and I had to add a lot of weight. I don't have my number in front of me. I think the car weighs 76 or 77 grams. It probably needs to be a little heavier. But if you can see in there, I've got a big hunk of lead on top. I've got some cylinders in it. I've got 2 stacked in his little in the little pocket here. I've got 1 laying back here. So I'm trying to get some more weight. Now, the car was running, and I'm sorry, I feel like I'm talking a lot. I don't usually talk a lot because I don't want people to know what I do, but I'm trying to change my philosophy. I'm trying to be a giver. So I'm gonna the reason my name says owner up there because I can't figure out how to make it Courtney Rose. So I'm hoping to be adopted there. But that car with the scale auto pod, which is scale auto pod, you know, it's really stiff. And it ran a 6 flat on my track, which is with the new tire setup and everything, that's really good. So after fiddling with that one just a little bit, I had to get done with that hypercar. So just fiddling with it a little bit last night, it ran a 6.1. So it's less than a tenth off, but it still has a little bit of chatter. And I was explaining to Garth, I am of the opinion that the chassis, as it stands right now, I haven't done any more with the silicone O-rings. My next one is to probably go to a solid silicone, not a spongy silicone. But as it stands right now, I am convinced that the chassis is too soft, as is the motor pod. What I've seemed to have good luck with, you know, these chassis are relatively, I call these soft chassis. And then some friends of mine from England explained that, you know, with one rear body mount, you know, this is the weak part of the chassis, right here. And so if this is the body mount holds onto that. It's also supporting the back of the pod. It's just got too much flex in it. So when I run this chassis with that hard scale auto pod, that's in my wheelhouse. I get that. I think this is a little soft. I also have you know, the CG. I really like their pod, but of course with this center here, that makes it really flexible. Now, I say all that, and in the hard chassis, I've got a hard. This is the Devis Design pod, and this is you know, this is my test car, and it runs pretty good. It's not quite as fast. I don't know why. I think I need to go to a softer pod. Now, I'm now open for questions, comments, and donations.
I got two out of three. The donation part's not happening.
Whatever.
On the Garth pod, is the front piece of the pod locked to the chassis, or is it floating as well?
No, it is locked down.
Okay.
I locked down the front of all the pods.
Is there a way, and I don't know if this would work in a proxy because it probably wouldn't last very long. Is there a way to put some grease inside that tube and dampen
So
that?
Garth recommends super lube. And I did put a little spot in there. But it doesn't, you know, it's not like it's moving a lot. It's moving less than a millimeter. I think it flexes longitudinal. That's what I think is going on. I don't think it's the side to side that's hurting it. And again, I'm still testing. I've got time, but
Explain your chatter to me, Courtney. Where does that happen?
Yeah, power on coming off the turn.
Okay.
When I had the screws relatively loose, I can take this off. When I had the screws relatively loose, it was much, much worse and much, much slower. The one thing I did do, I did have to change gears. This is not the same gear ratio. This is 1132 versus 1133 because I didn't have the right stuff to make it work. I didn't want to change the motor gear.
Okay. Generally, if If the car is torsionally too soft, you will generally get mid-corner chatter. If the car is longitudinally too soft, you will get what's known as axle tramping coming out of the corner. So you may want to try and put some stiffeners on the chassis plate to stop that flexing a little bit, front to back.
Okay, so there's a good point, but where and how would I attach that? Because I really want it to go, I want it to go this way.
Yeah,
I want it to
that's the way you want to go.
Yeah, but how? So, well, now I will say this is true with not using a 14 mil wide tire. I do have some more room in here that I could stiffen it up.
Mhm.
And here's I wanted to show you. This is the stock setup from Guard. So there's a washer there. Oh, sorry, there's a silicone washer, two silicones, washer, and nut. And like I say, I've got them they're as tight as they can go without.
And are those the silicone sponge or the solid silicone?
These are silicone sponge. This is the first
Okay.
run out of the gate.
Try the solid silicone
Right,
first.
that's our next step.
And then on the top of the chassis, you can buy some styrene strip, maybe, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch tall sort of strip. And then you can use some Loctite 380 to put a couple of strips from the two little bits that hold the back end. Yeah, right inside. Yeah, inside the gear plate there, and then run them along the chassis towards the front of the chassis. Yeah,
So
keep
bridge
going,
the
keep
gap.
going, keep going. Yeah, you want to bridge that gap on either side, which will get rid of a lot of the longitudinal flex. It sounds to me, without seeing it, okay, forget the torsional flex. Just do a longitudinal.
I agree. I think I would agree the power coming off is longitudinal, and that seems to be the majority of my problem.
That typically, as far as chassis design and chassis dynamics go, it is pretty tough to make a car too stiff on a longitudinal basis.
So this is my next dilemma via proxy racing is will I take out too much grip? I'm almost wondering if I leave a little like chatter in it, just a little bit. If that is going to give me more grip on some of the other tracks.
If your chassis plate cannot be really made too stiff either way, it is how the pod is affixed and how the pod rotates in the chassis plate that will have the major effect over your grip.
So would you rather see styrene or should I use a piece of piano wire?
I would use a piece of styrene and put it up on edge. It's nice and light. It's not going to affect anything. If you use Loctite 380, it's /Black Max. It's an industrial strength rubberized CA that will hold extremely well styrene to a styrene base.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay.
And if you put it up on edge, right, a styrene strip, which is not going to do anything to your CG, it's not going to do anything. If you glue it you can try different things. You can glue it at the back and glue it at the front, which will improve the longitudinal flex of the chassis, but it really won't impede the torsional flex of the chassis that much.
Well, you're right. The first thing is going to be the harder washer. Because, and by the way, also when I'm running this pod, I don't run any suspension.
Yeah.
And instead of styrene, what about balsa wood?
Absolutely, you can use balsa wood.
Just a
It
thought.
is probably going to be harder to get the balsa wood to stick to the styrene based chassis plate than it would styrene.
Okay.
And styrene in a you get a weird crash or something like that, or a weird flex. The balsa wood could crack, split, chip, do all kinds of stuff.
Okay, that's a good point.
Now probably on the back legs of that chassis, there's probably a little bit of an L shape somewhere where you could butt the styrene up against.
Yeah, but then I get into then you get into the motor pod and spur. You're right. I can put that vertically on there easily and run it longitudinal easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I would first off try the solid silicone washers.
Right.
Right. See how you do. And then it's a little more of a fiddle around, but this changing the washers takes you 5 seconds.
Right. The fiddle around is what we live for. This is why we're here.
Right. Adding the styrene strips is a little bit more involved, but still not difficult at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, it sounds to me like you're getting axle tramping, not typical mid-corner chatter.
Yes, that's a better terminology. It is, and I just like I say it's chatter coming off.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, mid-corner chatter is typical when the triangle between the pinion and the 2 rear bushings moves.
right.
That's generally that generally is the result of chatter as the rear axle flexes in the pod to a point where the resistance of the pod is more than the torsional flex. The whole thing snaps back in the other direction, and that's what causes chatter.
Yeah, and that's common of the angle winders. And I think well, I know I've built a car for somebody here that on the angle winder. That's what I'll do is I'll take and I'll build a carbon piece here and then I add a triangle here.
Yeah.
So that because I agree with you, the motor's trying to climb the axle gear.
Right.
That's
yeah
bad.
And that gets exacerbated with stickier tires and a stronger motor because the whole torsional torque of the rear end is magnified because you got grippy tires and a big strong motor that's trying to twist the whole rear axle at side to side.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's GT3 proxy stuff. I don't want to get beat by the checks again, and I really want. And you're right, Chris. As of whenever last week, I really want to make a go with that 050 motor. It's taken me 3 years, and I'm second, and that hurts my heart a little bit. This is tier, so. But I'm working on it.
You got things to do. You got plans.
Well, there will likely be some different 050 motors on the market somewhat shortly.
Will they have torque and brakes like the Professor motor?
Well, I mean, torque and brakes is just a function of wind and magnet strength. So improve the magnet strength and change the wind. Yes, they will.
Okay. I'll put my address in the text.
All right. Well, that was a fantastic answer to my prompt.
Well, I again, I don't say a whole lot, but I do. But I have a lot going on. I wish I could go back to the hypercar, because I got Yona's pods. This is Yona's 050 RT4 pod, and it is awesome. It built so quick and so easy, and I messed with two different the black chassis, the gray chassis, and I only got one S-can pod, and that was in the car that I sent, and I cut these ears off of it to make room for some lead, which I didn't even end up using. On this pod, I'm only really running the 3 front screws in the pod. These back 2 screws are just really, they're there for looks. Because in my testing, when I put those 3 in there, it locked the pod in. It gave it nice float. The car was really good. I just couldn't make it as good as the black car. So, the stopwatch tells the difference, but if I had some more time, Yona's stuff is good.
Not a bad idea to use some screws in those side rear mounts and leave them loose so that they act as stop. So you're not putting, so you leave them very loose, so they still allow the whole pod to move, but they act as stops to protect the front 3 ears in case they really bend out.
Well, I almost use it as what I did, Chris, was I used them as a vertical limiter on the chassis.
Yeah.
So when I put the chassis flat, I just kind of kept touching it to make sure they were loose and just a whisker above the flex above the pod. And actually, I've got some of the MR slot car O-rings, the 0.5 millimeter O-ring, and they're just loose, just so they will come up and dampen.
Yeah.
But I noticed with these 3 front screws, it didn't have any left or right movement, or very little. And because of the center spine, I was like, well, that's going to give it the dampening. Again, I have another friend on here who's not a big fan of tape in proxy races because it gives up as you go. So I try hard to live by that rule as well.
Yeah. Limiting the side to side. Slot cars with rear end steering, like real cars with rear end steering, are just not good. Just so, if that rear axle can shift around side to side and change the angle relative to the guide in the front axle, it's just not a consistent thing to have.
Yeah, it's bad. So anyhow.
All right. Well,
And,
Jeremy's got another tier list for us to tackle. What do you got this time, Jeremy?
Oh, an exciting topical tier list when we're slow on time. Let me see if I can share this.
Hey, Jeremy,
Yes.
my NSR 908 is still running, so it's got 30,000 laps on it since last week, so I think I'm ahead.
You're ahead so far. Mine's still running too, but mine's only going at 9 volts. Today's list is, let me see if I've got it here. Which of the slotted Group C cars has the highest ceiling and which is the lowest ceiling? And for people not familiar with what I mean by ceiling, I will say, no matter what you do to a Carrera car, this is about the most performance you're going to get out of it. That's the ceiling. But when you take an NSR car, the ceiling is going to be way up here because the more you tinker with it, the more you're going to get out of it. So of these cars, and it's on an imaginary track. I'm not going to tell you which track it is. I'm not going to tell you if it's winter, spring, summer, snow. So don't start throwing out crazy ideas. But what if it's a lunar eclipse and the car is running backwards? No, it's just in general, which car has the highest ceiling? Now, some of these are kind of duplicates because the 956, for example, this 956, let's just say it happens to be average. There's a 956KH, this one, which all it does is change the wing, but I just wanted to include as many of the different variations in case anybody had a strong opinion on it. This wing is a little different. And then the other one, the 956KH, like this one has a much higher wing. Whether or not that affects, what you can do with it and get out of it, it's probably not that much, but I just wanted to have those options here for people that were very meticulous. And I'm sure there's a few of the Group Cs that I missed, some of the newer ones. I just pulled this chart off of Far Out Slot Cars. They have a nice list of all the cars they allow. So any strong opinions on which one is not good to tune and go crazy with?
And this is specifically slotted Group C.
This is only slotted Group C. I wanted to keep it just something a little different, but kind of keep it in the slot car format.
This assumes that we've experienced all these different models.
If you haven't, then don't have an opinion. That's
Yeah.
That's an awful lot.
So, for me, I've found that this is probably the top car I've ever driven from a slotted Group C.
What is that? I can't see.
Yeah, we don't
What's that?
recognize them all.
Mercedes.
That's the Nissan R89C.
Oh,
Yeah.
I found that thing, for some reason, I've had a dozen different slotted. That one just handles small tracks, big tracks, whatever I need it to do, it does it well. But of course, if anybody disagrees, feel free to
Right
reach
behind
out.
it is the Jaguar XJR 12.
The XJR12. Let me see which one that would be, because there's several of them on here. The purplish pink one, this one?
Yeah.
The Jaguar XJR12, you would put it behind here?
Yeah.
That is the XJR12, which is a little different from
mine is Castro livery, but makes no difference.
Okay.
Right.
Well, this Castro livery here happens to be the XJR10. So this one here. Now, I don't know if there's a bunch of difference between the 10 and 12.
Huge differences.
There is? Okay. There you go. Jim, you disagree with that up there, or would you move that up or down?
I would move that down one and put the XJR 10 on top with the Nissan.
Okay.
The reason being the Nissan is the lightest car they make.
Oh, okay.
And so it has tuning potential because it's light.
I see.
The 10 is physically larger than any other of the cars, so it's a more stable
wider.
platform. So it has a lot of tuning capability.
What about the XJR9? Was there much difference in that?
9 and the 12 are virtually the same. Virtually the same.
Virtually the same.
Using the same
Interesting.
chassis, I think.
Now, I think it might. Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of these have. Like the XJR6 also has the same chassis as the 9, doesn't it? This is the
Which one?
6. The XJR6.
I think the 6 is different, but I'm not positive.
Oh, could be trouble here. Let's put that in average until we get a definitive
Well,
list.
the only reason, again, going back to slotted nationals, the only reason we ran the XJR 12 because they neutered the XJR 10 and the Nissan.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't put the 12. I wouldn't put the 12 on top because of that. It was artificially allowed to go faster because they neutered the 2 that we just put on the top.
What about the Porsche 956 or the 962? Any difference do people find any difference between those? And where would they go on this list?
Well,
They're so similar, I know.
I
But-
put them in the middle myself,
You'd put them where?
in the middle.
Middle. Any differences you guys
difference
find
between
in the ones with different wing heights?
The difference between the XJR 12/9 is that it's about the same dimensions as the Porsche, but it's
Okay.
wider. The one dimension that's different is wider.
The 962s, there's some differences. There's the KH, like the Tic Tac car, and then there is the IMSA car, which will have a little more plastic on the back shell. I don't know if this, did this come across here and share? No, I can't see. No, I didn't.
Still
Okay.
has the charts.
Yeah. So that's the only difference between the real difference. I think they run the same chassis still. So let's hold off on the 962. Let's talk about the Toyotas. There's 3 different Toyota versions, even though the longer tails are the same, and this is a shorter tail.
The short
Where would you put the
tail
Toyota?
is about 2 grams light, about 2 grams lighter.
Okay.
I'm kind of pissed off that I know all this stuff, but going to the slot.
No, I'm glad you do. That's why we do this. We do it for your expertise. Now, where would you put that as a ceiling? Is it pretty tunable? Not very much.
The difference is the Toyota with a separate wing, the one you got the cursor on, is about a gram and a half, 2 grams lighter than the fixed tail.
Okay. And as for its overall ceiling, tuning it, getting it going, is it up here with the Jaguars or not?
I'd put it with the Porsches. I don't know.
You don't know. Anybody else have a strong opinion on that? Owner, you don't have any strong opinions on Group C cars. So would you put these below the short tail? Would you do like that, Jim?
Probably.
Probably. Now some of the cars, like here, which one's that pink one? I can't remember what the name of that pink car is.
It's
Is it the Nissan? Okay, and I think there's a couple different Nissans, isn't there? There's R90, R89. That pink one's a 91 VP.
Bottom.
I assume it's the same chassis. I've never driven the 91 VP or the 90 V.
Yeah, the silver one or the gray one, which you don't have on there, the body is like a half a gram or a gram lighter than the rest of them.
Okay. Where would you put the 91 VP? Up.
It's pretty much the same as the rest of the Nissans.
Where was the Nissan at? Top. And was it the only other Nissan? I think this is a Nissan. Top. No real difference between those or any particular order? Not really. Okay. What's the rest of these? Lancia? Toyota, we got Toyota. Yeah, this is a Mercedes Sauber C9, this one. Tunability, above average, below average. I've never seen a good one, but that doesn't mean that's just my opinion. I've never seen anybody dominate a race with one.
Yeah.
But maybe they can. I don't know. Thoughts, opinions?
The one I have is at least they're so similar. It's really hard to tell.
I know.
I would put the Sauber even with the 956s.
Would you? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't refute that because I haven't really raced it much.
There's some scuttlebutt about the 962C being quick. The one with the separate wing rather than the integral wing at the rear.
This is the 962 with the separate wing.
No.
No, that's a 962C 85.
Yeah, but it's different.
There's a different one. Okay.
Yeah, even though it's a 962C, it's not a.
Momo car is the 962C with a separate wing, and
oh, is that one of the newer ones?
Yeah.
New Momo.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I don't have that one on here yet.
And on Slottit's website, when you go to it, it shows that as being a longer guide lead, but it's not.
Really?
When I bought one and measured it, it's not.
Okay. Any difference in the IMSA
car? There's statistics. Who knows if they're right or not?
Yeah. On the IMSA car on the 962, you'll notice the big thing on the back. Does that make much of a difference? It's just going to add a few grams of weight, I assume. No opinion on that. What is that? The Mazda? How is the Mazda for tunability?
The Mazdas that I've driven have always handled really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any downfall, or would you pick it over the Jaguar or not?
No, because it's not as wide. But
okay, so would you pick it over any of these?
Probably
yeah,
the same.
Probably
I would say up with the Porsche 956s.
Above the Porsches, but below the Jaguar?
With them, not above them.
With them? Well, between them, I got to pick one, so I'll just leave that there for now.
Yeah.
What are the last two here? We have, I think they're very similar. If anybody knows the name of
Lancias are with the Toyotas.
Yeah,
the Lancias.
Two versions of the Lancia.
Okay, with the Toyotas, don't not a lot of tunability on those, or can't get them going very fast. Anybody have any strong disagreements with this list?
The only not disagreement, but there's the new Mazda, which people have said that I've talked to. It handles really good because the body sits on the chassis.
Okay.
You know, side sills don't sit over the chassis; they actually rest on the chassis, and I've heard some good things about it.
Okay. Well, on my next time around, we'll include some newer stuff. It's just I didn't have time to get pictures of everything and get it going. I don't see any placement that I don't like. This is kind of a hard one because obviously depending on the tracks you're on, it feels like it's got a much shorter wheelbase. Like it gets around corners very easily for me.
The
Whereas when
Jaguar is actually the Jaguar is by far the biggest length, width, everything. It's just a bigger car.
Yeah, that's not always a great thing because if you have a lot of sharp turns, I found that it takes a little longer to get through there. Or I got to go a little slower, but it could just be my driving style doesn't mesh with it.
It's track
Yeah.
dependent.
On my track, the Jaguar is really as quick as the Nissan, the 389. I don't know if I'd agree with the 390 Nissan though up there. Maybe Jim has more experience than I do, but the one I have is a dog.
They're identical. Other than you see the rear wing is slightly different treatment. Basically, the car's identical.
Yeah, I think the wings might be a little different, and then one of them comes with the skirts on the side, and one comes with no skirts. I think
the skirts are included, but you can take them off.
Some of them I bought didn't have the skirts in them, and the other ones did. I didn't know if that was just a feature, or if he puts them in and I threw it away. I don't know. Maybe.
I think it just
maybe it was
depends
in the
on how
bottom.
the real car ran.
They came with the car. I have both. I have them both.
Everyone comes with it.
Well, the two that I got came with it. Both
Okay.
of them.
Yeah, I don't know.
But they were off. They were off on the well.
All right. No other major disagreements. Like I said, I just threw the extra winged variations in here just for variety. Yeah, I don't see anything weird. I have seen these cars down here at the bottom that it seems universal. Like in our club, these are not considered, good ones to start with because you're not gonna be competitive. So I think that's kind of universal. And that would be, I guess we'll end it at that. Thank you for participating in our topical tier list Tuesday? Well, it's Wednesday, so.
It would be awesome if we had Maurizio on here and had his input on it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll save this and we'll save it for the next time he's on the show.
You should send it to him.
Okay.
A little @slot tag in your slot forum post.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you guys for participating. If you have show ideas or topical tips, let me know.
Yeah, I had no input on that. I mean, I've got Group C cars, but I don't tune them enough to really, or compete with them enough to really say one way or another.
I was just trying to find cars that like every club runs. I think every club runs a few. You know what I mean? There's probably 5 different classes everybody runs. Like, you got a Revo slot. You probably have a Group C. You have an NSR, either F1 or maybe a GT, or like there's just a few universal things that we all do.
And there's not a dog in the bunch.
There's not a what?
There's not a dog in the bunch.
No, no, absolutely. Everything can be tweaked, but
it was splitting hairs pretty much.
We are definitely splitting hairs, but the difference here, if Courtney has the Mercedes, he's only getting this far out of it, whereas if you give him the other one, he's getting this much out of it. So that's just, it gives somebody an idea what to shoot for, especially if somebody's watching this, they're new to slot cars and they're like, oh, okay, start off with one of the top ceiling cars because you're already on a good footing.
Yeah. I like it.
All right. Great show.
Thank you, Jeremy.
You got 10 minutes to waste, or I can stop early. I don't care.
Courtney, are you running inserts in your tires most of the time?
Half and half. Most of the time, no, because they generate more side bites I find they generate more side bite without the insert. But it also depends on the tire. I mean, I'm not tuning anything down to 18 mil. GT3, the smallest you're allowed is 19. So there's still a fair amount of rubber in there. But if I start with a low profile tire, I will run an insert.
I've been trying those new Slotting Plus inserts and I like them a lot.
Yeah, I'm with Chris. I don't buy inserts. I've got so many foam tires. I just cut inserts as they go.
Oh, that was banned for us now. We have to have commercially available inserts.
Oh.
Can you get commercially inserts from jadedparts.com? Because I know a guy who makes really lightweight inserts to your custom needs.
Jaded, I've been trying to get sponsored by Jaded Parts, but man, the guy is brutal.
Yeah, he's a pain in the ass to deal with. That's true.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a
But
tiger.
I've been experimenting making foam inserts, that look like the real wheel, but they're just made of foam, so they're just a little lighter. Now, how much? I mean, it's only grams, 0.5 grams or whatever. But
I did some 3D printed inserts.
Well, but Jim, you were playing with the I don't know, the compression. You were playing with the compression of the insert as well for a while. Did that make a difference?
On our track, it does because it's such high bite. At the race last week, I took it's a spec tire, but I had 3 different sets of them. And essentially each one had more air pressure in it. One was softer, one was middle, one was harder. And doing that,
Which one did you run?
Different inserts. I ran the middle one.
And then how tall was that tire?
18.3.
Yeah.
But we had
And
guys
then-
running 18.8s that were in the A main. So it was not just like you had to run short tires.
Well, yeah, but you like the car as low as possible, and that's what it takes, right? Or did you run?
In theory, yes, but it seems to respond on our track pretty well to higher tires with a higher ride height. We teched them and put the ride height gauge at some of them we didn't have to look at. This car is like way in the air, and then all of a sudden the car's in the A main.
Yeah.
So it's not like foam tires where you want it as low as possible every time, no question, don't even ask.
Are those strip ones, are they hard to install, or does they go pretty easy?
So they have adhesive backing on them, so you just cut them to length and wrap them around the room. They're actually easier because you don't true them. They have 2 different thicknesses, so you just run them as is.
Oh, that's nice. Where'd you get them, Jim?
Well, I got them from our local place, Motown, but there's a black there's strips, and there's black and there's orange, and the difference is the orange is thicker because it's so when you wrap it around, it's a bigger diameter.
Has anybody taken the plastic NSR wheels and made them independent? Has anybody done that yet? No.
Yes.
Okay. Have you?
Yeah.
What did you end up? Could you please explain your process?
Use a drill press to drill them out, drill them right through. And then just put a small, and then I just put a very thin 10 thou steel washer and solder that onto the axle on the outside, or just do one. I mean, you can do that on both sides, or if you want, just drill one out and then put one spacer on the end of the axle and the other one just pushes on.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking about a hollow axle, and then I would just I would just do a hollow axle and push it in, and then what I do is I take a straight pin, and then I kink the end of it and push it in, and glue it in, and then they would be on metal, just riding on that pin.
You know who made
if you're going to do that, you'd probably have to put a piece of 16th inch OD brass inside your hollow axle to hold the pin, right? You put a pin tube inside your a short piece of pin tube inside your hollow axle, and then stick the pin in.
You could probably 3D print a pin type device just so the press fit into the hollow axle.
Yeah, possible.
SCX NASCARs used to have a independent front axle, and the part you would take and you would snap it down into where a regular axle holder fits, and the piece was like a plastic and the wheel pressed into that. And it was a really clever idea. If they'd have done it in metal and tightened up the tolerances, it would have been perfect for sale, but I don't think they ever did anything with it. But if you have an old SCX NASCAR, take a look at it. It's kind of a neat independent system they had.
Have you tried the
So-
Scale Auto kit? Because Scale Auto makes an independent kit.
No, no.
Right, it's just heavy, right? I mean, this
Oh,
is what I do
they're half-
now.
they're
This
half-axes.
is right. I get what they're doing, but this is carbon fiber. with
Wait, I
one
can't see. It's
washer
too
on it.
black. It's too dark. I can't see what's going on. It's black on
Ooh.
black. Nah,
That's how you know. Always bet on black, baby.
always bet on black.
So,
So what is it
I
they
run,
sell? I don't see. Wait, what do they sell there? I don't see. They sell the black tube?
this is carbon fiber. No, this is not a tube. This is solid.
Oh, I thought you were talking about independent front axle. That's independent?
No, this is not.
Oh.
He's saying Scale Auto makes one. It's just heavy because it's got screws and washers and fiddlies and
It's not very heavy. It's
clips.
way. Well, why don't you get carbon fiber tube and then just thread it and put a screw in the end?
Yeah, they don't make it in. They
They'll
don't
make
make
that
it
small.
in. They don't make it in 3/32. They make it in 2 millimeter, 2.5 millimeter, and 3 millimeter. And I don't, which would be great, but I'm not into sourcing it that much. I can buy the carbon axles and that's what I'll end up doing. I'll end up drilling it out and putting a washer on one end and just doing it that way.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, it's fast, it's simple. I can still use my carbon axle. It should have very little rolling resistance. But, the next question is, I've done them that are coated and I've done them that are just trued and uncoated. Do you like that front traction, Chris, on those things? Do you think it helps them rotate?
Lots of different answers.
Right. I
No,
know, that's why I try lots of different
as-
stuff.
As the car pivots from side to side on the guide, if your front wheels are touching, as there is some evidence to suggest that a somewhat stickier front tire will resist slipping sideways as it moves on the arc with the guide and will aid overall traction. I know that several guys in the GT3 proxies were, if you recall, guys were saying, me included, clean all 4 tires. And that was the rationale between that. Now, again, it depends on track surface and track layout and a whole bunch of different things. I have a mix of both, which work well depending on the track surface they're running on. If you are running on a wood track that has previously been, like some of the tracks that Jim's guys run on, they're glue tracks that are cleaned off, but you can never clean it off. So there's massive amount of grip. You don't need any assistance from that. So I would go with a coated tire. On a low grip track, I would tend to favor a tire with a little bit of grip if you're running the front tires on the ground.
Yeah.
Because as the car slides, as the back end slides, the front end slides, but not to the same degree because it's on a shorter arc.
Sure.
So again, that also depends on the position of the front axle to the pivot point of the guide. If that is short, you won't get as much effect. If it is longer, you will get a greater lateral effect having stickier tires. So that's why there's no one size fits. I wish there was yes, this is the only way to do it, but that's not the way it is.
Yeah.
That's a great way to end the 2-hour live broadcast. So everybody wave bye till next week. Wait until YouTube says it's over, and it's over, and it's over, and it's not over yet.